welcome or welcome back to my channel. For this weekend, I am going to be attempting to read from my Kindle Unlimited library only. So, obviously I have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, and honestly, for the most part, I have not been using it. I have used it for a couple finishing up series I'm in the middle of vlogs, but other than that, I have been attempting to tackle my extensive physical TBR. If you did not catch my TBR takedown episode 1, I'll link it right up there. I have 330 some odd physical unread books in my library. So I've been kind of making a point to read those and try and get through those, especially because there are new releases every day, and there will never be enough time to read all of the books, but I would like to get to as many as possible. But I have been pretty good about trying to stick to my monthly TBRs, but I have not finished one yet, I will say that. But I've been trying to stick to them, which means it's been a hot minute since I have done any mood reading. And so this vlog is trying to essentially allow me a little bit of wiggle room to mood read, but also to make use of my Kindle Unlimited subscription and my Kindle because it's been a hot minute. So some titles that are kind of in the running for this weekend. I will say I'm going to probably read somewhere between 2 and 3 books. If I do end up reading 3 books, I might end up choosing one that is on my monthly TBR just because I have 6 books left this month. And the only other video that I think I will get to TBR books in is my 24-hour readathon. And 6 books is too many for a 24-hour readathon. At least that's I haven't done one before, so we're guesstimating here. But I think at my regular reading pace, and then taking into account the fact that I will probably get a little bit tired. By the way, I have not done an all-nighter since college, so I have no idea how this is going to go. It could turn out terribly. But that being said, I just think that if I knock one out, if I'm able to read 3 books this weekend, that will kind of help maybe make it so that I actually complete my May TBR, which would be my first monthly TBR 100% complete, which would be amazing. So a couple titles that are kind of in the running for this weekend, ones I've been seriously interested in, are Dire Bound, Haunting Adeline, The Conditions of Will, A Kiss of Iron, City of Gods and Monsters, Quicksilver, Metal Slinger, The Book of Azrael, The Sword of Kaigen, and maybe Blood and Steel, maybe, and Spark of the Everflame. So obviously those are all highly, highly popular books, and I would like to know what the hype is about. So I am hoping that I can get to some of them in this video. So we shall see what I pick up in my next clip. It is a Saturday, and I am here to check in with you because I am halfway through Metal Slinger, or just about. I think I'm at 44%, if you can see that. But this book, so it was 5-star material, but we've reached a point in the book, or we just got over a point in the book where things were lagging a little bit. So pacing is not a 5-star. I don't know, maybe the rest of the book will make up for it, because until we hit that lull, it was going to be a 5-star. I feel like I need to back up and explain myself. So Metal Slinger follows Bryn, our FMC. She belongs to the Alaha people, and every year, once a year, the Alaha are allowed to come onto land and trade at the dock market with the Kenta people. So prior to the events of this book, the Kenta and the Alaha experienced a conflict. The Kenta won and banished the Alaha to live on the ocean. So Bryn has kind of grown up in this grove of trees that the Alaha have kind of hollowed out and built bridges and whatever to kind of create its own island community, but there is no actual land involved. And then, of course, the Kenta are the country that they continue to have a trade relationship with, despite the tension and hostilities. So when the book first opens up, Bryn is going to the market for the first time. When you are Alaha, the only times you ever get a chance to see the market / dry land is if you are a guard chosen to go with the trading convoy, or you are just graduating from the guard, and so the graduating class gets to go and see the market. And so sometimes that's the only time you ever get to see land. So Bryn and her compatriots are very, very excited because they're finally getting to see land for the first time and what all of that looks like. And Bryn and her friends kind of create a disruption, shall we say. Things go boom. Weapons are drawn, even though the Alaha are not supposed to bring weapons on land with them as part of the treaty. And so she and her friends are now in trouble. And the peace treaty between the nations is also in trouble. And that's kind of, this almost feels a little bit like Throne of Glass, but on crack, where in Throne of Glass, you're pitched this like plot of, oh, this girl is, a master assassin training to be the king's, right hand or whatever. And then by the end of it, you're like, by Kingdom of Ash, you're like, oh my God, the plot doesn't even remotely resemble where we started. And that's kind of how I'm feeling about this book, and not in a bad way whatsoever. I feel like there's very little I can share with you guys about the plot without exposing things that, even though you learn them pretty quickly, are still somewhat spoilers. So let's just say that Bryn at some point finds herself out to sea. And that is the point that kind of like killed the momentum of the book for me. So she ends up, like I said, out to sea for quite an extended period of time. And Lordy, it was a snooze fest. I was bored out of my mind. The beginning of the book caught my attention and held it for quite some time. I'm enjoying Bryn as a main character. I'm enjoying the settings. I'm enjoying the magic system, the plot, and it was totally feeling like a 5-star until Bryn ended up out in the middle of the ocean, and then I went, I'm so bored. So that is kind of where we are at. We have kind of gotten past that point in the plot, so I am hoping that things will pick back up and I will go back to feeling like this is a 5-star read. But that did, like I said, it just killed my momentum with the book a little bit. So I will talk to you guys when I am done with this book. We are now on day 3 of this reading vlog. It is Sunday evening and my weekend is winding down, so I thought I would come at you guys with some reading updates. I have officially finished Metal Slinger and I so thoroughly enjoyed that read. I will say it is a 4-star read for me. For a while there, I was thinking it was going to be 5 stars, but there are a couple reasons why I ended up rating it 4. And I will say I am going to purchase a physical copy at some point. I am kind of bummed that I missed the train on the indie published copies. The book is now being published traditionally, and they've gone with a shiny cover instead of matte. And also they have one of those stupid little like fake sticker badge sort of situations on the front with like new exclusive bonus content. And that's kind of annoying. So I don't know, maybe I will wait until I can either get my hands on the indie copy, which then begs the question, are the rest of them going to be indie published and I don't have matching sets? Or do I wait until, maybe somebody picks it up as a special edition? I feel like it has enough popularity that might happen. Or do I just buy them as hardcovers? Because it looks like the hardcovers may not have that idiotic little stampy thing on there. So we shall see. But the book, I enjoyed it. I feel like I cannot talk very much in depth about the characters and the plot and the development, because I feel like that pertains, like, just there's just a lot of spoilers that I could slip up on. So I'll try and keep this as vague as possible. I had a couple issues with the pacing, or like right around the 40% mark. Our FMC ends up kind of stranded at sea at some point. I feel like that's not too big. That's not really a spoiler. She ends up stranded at sea at some point in our story for various reasons. And God, that just killed me. That was so slow. So slow. And the other thing is, I think one of the reasons why I ended up rating it 4 stars is the beginning of the book really captured me. I was interested in the politics and the world building and the magic and all of that good stuff. And I feel like at the halfway point, it really became about the romance between our FMC and our MMC. And I just, as much as I enjoyed the two of them together, I was really here for the politics and the intrigue. Like, I felt like the book was so focused on the romance that we kind of lost a little bit of like the politics. And, I was really here for all of the political machinations and potential wars and like all of that good stuff. So it kind of surprised me that we took such a left into the romance. And I do understand why, in the sense of like there are some things going on there that are like pertinent to like people's magic. And I get that, we have to get invested in the relationship if the plot twist at the end is going to hit as hard as it does, which, by the way, I know everybody has been like, gasp over the end. It is definitely worthy of that kind of reaction. So just know that I thoroughly enjoyed it. I am most definitely looking forward to book 2. I think it comes out next year. I understand it was originally going to be a duology, but now it's going to be a trilogy. So I'm kind of excited that we're getting one more book. And I do hope that it wasn't like she expanded the duology across 3 books in order to fulfill her book deal. So we shall see. But regardless, I am looking forward to, the next installment. And that brings us to what I am reading now, which is A Kiss of Iron by Claire Sager. And I am, I think, like 13% of the way in. And so I'll kind of try and give you guys as much of a premise as I can here now. But this book follows Kat. She is married to a negligent, gambling deadbeat of a husband. They don't have any kids, but he is a very crappy husband. And he has not lived on their estate for years, but Kat has been doing everything in her power to keep the estate running. And part of that has resulted in her resorting to highway robbery. So, she once was a lady of title and standing in society. However, with the decline of her, marital home's fortunes, she has taken to scrimping, saving and robbing to make ends meet. She does her own gardening. She only retains the butler and the cook at this point, and they're kind of there out of loyalty rather than like wage or anything like that. And, she is, like I said, robbing her fellow nobles of their goods. And so pretty soon into this book, you realize just how horrible her husband is, because even though he is not present, he has been kind of skimming off what money she can save to keep the estate running, and comes to find out gambled their house or something like that. Basically, the bailiff came to repossess the house from her and was shocked that she was shocked because her husband knew months in advance and didn't tell her that her home was about to be no more. And so the bailiff gives her an opportunity by telling her, hey, there is clauses in the contract where if you pay back this amount of money at this time, you can keep the estate. And so she, in an effort to make those payments, ups her thievery and ends up stealing from a Fae Lord. So in this world, there are Fae, and then there are like kind of Fae blessed, touched, whatever. Like if a craftsman makes something that a Fae is particularly interested in, the Fae will grant them gifts. And then there are kind of like those who are half Fae. And it kind of seems like this world is modeled after England. There's the Queen Elizabeth in the past, but it's called Albion. And in this world, the Fae have recently decided to put forth suitors for the human queen's hand. And so that is one of the reasons why when Kat goes to steal from somebody, she is kind of shocked to find out that she just stole from one of the Fae. And when she is later summoned to court to be one of the queen's ladies in waiting, she is told by the spy master that she is really there to seduce and get information from the very Fae Lord that she stole from at the beginning of the book. So I am living for it. At this point in the book, we haven't really had much interaction besides her stealing his money, and then she took an object off him that he told her that he would get back with, every level of threat in his voice. So I am sure that, that will come to fruition at some point. I also think there was kind of this odd moment at the beginning of the book where she saves a fox, and the fox seems to have more intelligence than it should. I'm not spoiling anything here. It's very clearly laid out. And so I have a feeling that fox will come into play later in the book. I'm not 100% sure, but that just kind of seemed like a little bit of an Easter egg at the beginning. So I am pretty excited that I am getting to A Kiss of Iron, and I will let you guys know more about my thoughts and feelings when I am halfway. But I will see you later this evening. So we have reached the end of Sunday, and I am happy to report that I was able to finish A Kiss of Iron. I did not do a halfway check-in because I was so engrossed in the book that I forgot to stop, which I'm sure that you can then guess what I rated it, 5 stars. And I loved it so much that I jumped immediately into A Touch of Poison, and I'm now about 25% of the way through that book. So I am so happy. This was a great reading weekend for me. But really quickly, since we missed the halfway update, although I was kind of able to give you guys a brief synopsis about the plot, 12% in, Kat, when I last talked about her, had just gotten to court to be the queen's lady in waiting, and then was also asked as a second job to spy on Lord Bastian. And he is the Fae that she stole from at the beginning of the book. And the reason that the spy master wants her to spy on Bastian is because at this point, the Queen of Albion is looking for her consort. So in this world, as I mentioned, there are, the half-fae, the Fae touch, yada, yada. The ruling line of the country is supposed to have Fae magic, but the queen's magic never manifested it. And so now she's kind of looking for a match that could provide her bloodline with more stability and magic, because she's lacking in it. And so when Kat comes to court, the vying for the queen's hand has started, and Bastian is there to support the candidate from the Dusk Court of the Fae. So in this world, the Fae kind of now have just kind of pockets left of just solely Fae societies. And one of the biggest ones, which is where Bastian is from, has a Dawn Court and a Dusk Court. And how it kind of works is the Dawn King rules from sunrise to sunset, and then the Dusk Queen rules through the night, and the two courts kind of vie for power against each other. And so there's obviously a Dawn Court candidate as well, but the spy master for Albion feels that Bastian, as the shadow of the Dusk Queen, or, the spy master of the Dusk Court, is a threat to Albion, especially, if he's there on a purpose other than supporting their candidate's claim to the queen's hand. So that is why Kat has been asked to spy on Bastian. But the two of them have a really good chemistry. I deeply enjoy it. I was a little frustrated that things were a little bit one-sided for a while, at least in their physical relationship, in the sense of, Bastian is giving, not taking, or not receiving. and I kind of felt like he had some hangups. And now that I've gotten to the end of the book, I completely understand why. But it, in the moment, was irritating, and so I felt like I should bring it up. I also really, really enjoyed the political machinations. I did not see the plot twist coming at the end of this book at all. I also did not see the double betrayal that happened at the end of this book whatsoever. But, I appreciate that Kat is an FMC who is strong, but not necessarily in the badass, warrior kind of strong. She is smart. She is persistent. She just, she has a will to survive that I think is unparalleled. And I enjoyed following her. I liked being in her head. I liked the fact that she was kind of forced out of her comfort zone by these circumstances that she is in. Like, she has spent so long struggling to survive that she really doesn't think beyond survival. And Bastian is trying to get her to think beyond survival. Like, he gives her a book, and then when she determines that she might be better off just selling it, he gets really annoyed with her. And I appreciate the fact that their relationship isn't solely physical, even though she's meant to seduce him in order to spy on him. I appreciate the fact that he genuinely cares about her, and it becomes pretty clear pretty quickly that he does, as he starts, protecting her in small ways and gifting her things and spending unnecessary amounts of time with her, and I found it very, 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 very fun and very enjoyable. And of course, I was so enthralled with where the two of them and their story was going that I jumped right into the next book in the series. I did realize, probably 60% of the way through this book. Sorry, I'm looking down at my Kindle. It's right here. I did realize about 60% of the way through this book that there is a prequel series, or, this is a series that follows another Claire Sager series in the same world, in the same, right afterwards in the timeline. And I think the first book is called Beneath Black Sails, but I can't say who it follows without potentially spoiling, A Kiss of Iron. It's kind of a weird position to be in. But essentially, I'm very, very interested in the character and their storyline and how they got to be where they are in A Kiss of Iron. And their story is told in those books. So I will absolutely be picking those up, but I'm going to absolutely finish Kat's story first. So that brings us to the end of this weekend's reading. I finished 2.25 books, and I am so happy that I decided to do this reading vlog. I haven't been prioritizing getting to my Kindle Unlimited library because I am so trying to work through my physical TBR. And so I am, happy that I got a chance to read a couple books that have been sitting there that I have been dying to get to, but felt like I could not. So, Metal Slinger, 4-star read, very much enjoyed. A Kiss of Iron, 5-star read, amazing. Chef's Kiss. And I will let you know how I felt about A Touch of Poison if I am able to finish it before my reading wrap-up is filmed. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you would like to stick around for a while, please subscribe. Either way, I appreciate you joining me. Bye!